Hi there BookTube, it's Eleanor here. I'm not really sure why I've switched the camera on today. Well, I do know why I switched the camera on. I've been thinking about sort of filming and I didn't really know what to film. We've just come back from a lovely holiday in Lanzarote and yeah, I don't know, I'm just feeling that holiday blues, and I read so many books on holiday. I haven't reviewed them on here. I didn't make a vlog when we were away. The hotel was beautiful and where we were was beautiful, but I just really wanted to enjoy being there and not think too much about filming. And it was a hotel with a lot of families and children, and I just don't feel comfortable filming other you know, where other people's children will be in shot. So I made the conscious decision not to sort of film really, and just to enjoy my reading, which I did. I read 7 books in 7 days. I read a book a day, which was amazing. Lots of sort of 4-star contemporary reads. And yeah, I really enjoyed those. I'll mention them in my end of the month wrap up, no doubt, and if there's any there that you want to know particularly my thoughts on, you can always let me know in the comments. But since getting on the plane on the way home yesterday, I've just felt a bit like I didn't want to pick up a book. I'm currently reading a science fiction book, and sometimes I find them hard to sort of get into and to get going with, and so I haven't really wanted to pick it up, and it started to make me feel a little bit slumpy. So I thought, well, I'll just pick up another book, and you know, I don't want to get myself into a slump. I'll pick up another book and I'll read them alongside each other. And I was like, oh, I really want to catch up on my YouTube videos, on my subscription feed, because there's been so many people uploading videos when I've been away and I haven't been able to watch them. And so I picked up this one because it's part of, it's nominated for the Booksellers YA Book Prize, and also because it is picked for my book club. And it's a Sky Painted Gold by Laura Woods. It's a bit of a shiny version here because it's a library copy. And I have to say, like, this has been on my radar. I've known about it for quite a while, but I don't know, something about it just wasn't drawing me in, and I knew I had to read it for book club, and it was making me not want to read it. And I thought to myself, well, I'm just going to read a chapter and then I'll go and watch my YouTube videos. So I read 2 chapters, and I was quite enjoying it. It was page turnery, and then I thought, oh well, I'll add it to my Goodreads as currently reading. And then I saw what an amazing, it's got something like 4.23 average rating, which is amazing. And I thought, oh, that's really good. And then I thought, oh, I just want to find out what happens in the next chapter, because it ended on a little bit of a cliffhanger, that chapter. And I picked it up again. And I'm now 60 pages in and really enjoying it. It reads very much, it's set in the 1920s, and I just think it's going to be a really really lovely story. It's 1920s isn't an era I normally read about. It's got sort of that Downton Abbey-ish feel, and it's sort of the glitz and glamour, this sort of Great Gatsby-ish idea. It's set in Cornwall, and our young protagonist is 17, and she lives in a house of 8 children, and it's that very slow existence where they do their chores and they help look after the younger children. And at the very start of this book, our main character's elder sister has just got married, so we have the wedding, and she's just sort of in limbo, not really knowing what's going on in her life and what the next day brings. And it's this sort of slow pace of existence, and she's starting to feel intrigued by this house that's across the causeway, which becomes blocked off by the sea when the tide comes in, and it has been left empty for a number of years, and she's been going in and sort of sitting in there and eating the apples off the tree and reading her Agatha Christie books. And then all of a sudden, the young heir of the house, who has now become the heir as the father's died, has come home with his sort of envoy of young people there to sort of listen to jazz music and throw big parties and drink copious amounts of champagne. And she's intrigued by this sort of life, and she starts to watch them from up trees, and she's just made contact with this heir. And yeah, I'm really enjoying it, and it's one that's really sort of taken me a bit by surprise. And I suppose that's why I wanted to pick up the camera, because sometimes it's nice just to pick up a book and read a little bit, and then find yourself really wanting to pick it up again. And sometimes it's worth just putting down that book for a little bit that isn't drawing you in, until you know, it's the right time. So I just thought I'd pick that up really, and I just thought, well, maybe I'll just use this as a bit of a start of a vlog. So while I've got you here, I thought I'd show you some books and bits that came in some book boxes while I was away. I get the Book Box Club book box, and also a Wildest Dreams book club, I think it's called. Anyway, and there was some amazing goodies in those this time. In one of the book boxes was Music and Malice in Hurricane Town by Alex Bell. This sounds like it's a book set in sort of, where is it, Baton Noir, and it's about Jude, who scrapes a living playing the trumpet on the neon streets of Baton Noir. But when she performs at the funeral of the infamous Cashew Queen, Ivory Monette, she finds herself possessed by the murderer's woman's spirit. For Jude to free herself of the vengeful spirit, she must journey deep into the underbelly of the city, seeking out the person responsible for Ivory's death. And as Jude untangles Ivory's web of secrets, she is confronted with some dark truths from her own past. So this sounds like it's going to be a really sort of dark YA, and set in that sort of New Orleans-y type town, which I really love. And the other book that came from the other book box is by Zoe Marriott, and is The Hand, the Eye and the Heart. I really enjoy Zoe Marriott's writing, and this one says Zeelan was assigned female at birth. Despite the gift for illusions, they are destined to live out their life within the confines of the woman's quarter. But when civil war sets the empire aflame, Zeelan is determined to save their disabled father from the battlefield by taking his place. Surviving brutal army training as a boy, Z is only the first challenge. In the glittering court of the land of dragons, love and betrayal are two sides of the same smile, and soon the fate of a nation rests on Z's shoulders. But to win, they must decide where their heart truly belongs. So I think this sounds like it's going to be a really interesting story as well. And with that one came this really beautiful bookmark. I'm not sure if it'll focus. There you go, you can see it. Mother of Dragons bookmark, which looks truly beautiful, and was created by another studio. And I just think it looks really delicate and lovely, so I can't wait to use that. And also this came, which I really like. It's a little sort of notepad, and on it it's got various different things. You can track the book you're reading at the moment, your mood, quotes to inspire, and what you're doing for the week as well. So I just think this is a really lovely little notepad to keep on my desk. And then I'm going to show you 3 books that I picked up recently. Before I went on holiday, I finished The Tenant of Wildfowl Hall. I absolutely loved that book. I just thought it was brilliant, and really made me want to pick up some more classics in the same sort of vein and era as that. I was struggling, so I did a bit of research, watched quite a few videos. I picked up Anne Bronte's other book, Agnes Grey, because I think if I liked The Tenant of Wildfire Hall, I'll probably like this one as well. And then I picked up Elizabeth Gaskell's Wives and Daughters, because I've heard some good things about this, and I think it's Olive from a book. Olive really loves this book, and so I wanted to give it a go, and it just sounds really delightful. It's about 17-year-old Molly Gibson, whose widowed father remarries, and her life is thrown off course by her vain, manipulative stepmother and enlivened by a glamorous new stepsister, Cynthia. Molly soon finds herself a go-between in Cynthia's romantic affairs, but in doing so risks losing her reputation and the man she secretly loves. So I think that's going to be a really good read as well. And then a book that I had on pre-order that arrived was The Beauty of the Moment by Tanaz Bathina. I've heard nothing but good things about this book. It's about Susan. She's a new girl at school. She's smart, driven and strives for perfection. Her Indian family has just moved from Saudi Arabia to Canada, and according to her parents, her future will be set once she becomes a doctor or an engineer. But Susan has a secret. She wants to be an artist instead. Malcolm Vakil is the bad boy. He started raising hell at age 15 after his mum died of cancer and has had a reputation ever since. He doesn't care about connecting with his dad or getting to know his stepmum. Unlike his other Zoroastrian friends, he doesn't even know what he wants for his life or future until he meets Susan. Love is messy and families are messier, but in spite of their burdens, Susan and Malcolm fall for each other, and the way they the ways they drift apart and come back together are testament to family, culture, and being true to who you are. So I just think that sounds really interesting as well. So I've picked up some books recently as well. So I'm going to leave you now, and I will come back to you whenever I manage to read a bit more, or I have something that I want to talk about, and maybe I will just put these clips together and make a bit of a video for you. I'm still not deciding what sort of videos I want to make at the moment, and so yeah, I'll come back to you and we can talk a bit more about books and things that are going on. Okay, bye. Me again. So back to school, back to work, and it's my first day back. But last night I ended up finishing Sky Painted Gold, and I have to say it was a real breath of fresh air. As I think I said before, it was one of those books that I hadn't really sort of been interested in reading, and it just totally hooked me in. I had to sit and read it last night. I planned to do something else and I just wanted to read the book all the time. It's got that sort of Downton Abbey-ish feel. It's that sort of 1920s vibe. It's not trying to hide anything from you. It's not one of those books where there's lots of hidden things. A lot of the things that transpire and a lot of the plot that comes up is stuff that you can sort of see coming, but the point of it is how it all comes about and how it all plays out, and that's part of the joy of it. And one of my favourite things in the book is these parties that are described, and how sort of elegant they are, and how over the top and exaggerated, and all these moonlit candles and dance floors in the garden, and these sort of summer heady breezy nights. I just think it was really beautifully written and really well executed, so I thoroughly enjoyed that in the end, and I gave it 4 stars. I've just come home and this new book has been in the post that I had on order, which is Annalie in Real Life. It's by Janelle Milan, and I think for the first time ever I might just go straight into this one. I believe it's about a girl. I think a few years previous her mum has died. She hasn't really got over the grief of it, and she's sort of got this best friend that hates her. She can't really relate to anything in real life anymore. She really struggles in real life situations, so she's sort of retreated to this online sort of questing type game, I think, with a sort of online avatar, and she's made connections with people through that. But nobody she's met in real life, and I think there's someone on there that's a bit of a love interest for her, someone that she's connected with that she really likes. And then someone in real life, this really popular guy, asks her to pose as his girlfriend to make his ex-girlfriend jealous, and she sort of thinks, well, maybe I should do that to get a bit of practice in real life on how I should behave in these sort of situations. And then I think obviously things are going to either start to unravel, or you know, it's going to bring to light a lot of the issues that she's facing. So I think I'm going to dip into this tonight and just start it. I don't do that very often, but I really fancy it, so I'll come back and let you know how I get on as and when. Hi guys, so it's now a few weeks later, I think, or it's at least a little while later. I'm not sure when I last filmed, but I finished 2 books since I last spoke to you. The first one is Muse of Nightmares by Laini Taylor. This is the second in a duology and is up for one of the nominations for the SFF Awards, so I wanted to make sure that I read this month. This was just brilliant and just as beautifully written as all of Laini Taylor's books are. I just find that her writing style really does it for me. It's so descriptive and magical and interesting, and her storylines I feel are really complex, and they feel really original and fresh, and I know it's really hard to make like an original storyline because, you know, they've all been done before in some ways, but I just feel like her stories are just so imaginative and so new. I don't feel like I'm reading a similar story to one I've read before, which I really love. In this, all of our characters had much more growth and character growth. There were so many different threads going through. We spend the book flitting between past and present, so we start to learn more about the past. I'm being very vague here and not telling you much about the plot because obviously it's a sequel, but we just find that the characters that we found in book 1 in Strange the Dreamer really start to develop, and we learn a bit more about how this story all came about, which I think was one of my only sort of questions in the first one. Was I felt like there wasn't enough backstory there, and I really wanted to find out more, and this was certainly delivering on that, which was brilliant. I ended up giving this one, just like the first one, 5 stars, so it's definitely in the running to win the category for me in the SFF Awards. I think it's up for the YA Best Book, so it's definitely in with a chance in terms of me anyway, but there are other judges voting, and we will be sort of collaborating our votes nearer the time of judging. And then the other book is also a book that's up for the SFF Awards, and it's in the science fiction category, and that is The Calculating Stars by Mary Robinette Kowal. I went into this one really excited and then started reading it, and I was a little bit nervous. I think the biggest problem for me in this one is that the writing style isn't necessarily for me. It doesn't gel as well as maybe books like Laini Taylor's, so I found it hard to sort of immerse myself in the story so much, but I did really enjoy it. What I think is really good is that well, one of the things that really stood out for me is it's really refreshing to see a book set in the past that really takes a positive look at anxiety in terms of using medication and its positive effects of medication on anxiety. I think, you know, so often there's this stigma behind taking something to help with your anxiety, or to taking something to help you with a mental illness, and I just thought that it was tackled really interestingly in this book. It's set in an alternate history in 1952 when a meteoroid hits the Earth and annihilates pretty much all of the east coast of the USA, including Washington DC. It then becomes apparent, mainly from the calculations done by our main character and her husband, that it will eventually, the Earth will be unable to sustain human life, pretty much like a replay of what happened with the dinosaurs. And so humanity realises that they need to be able to get into space and colonise space in order to survive. We're following our main character Elma. She was a WASP pilot in the war. She is a genius mathematician. She's Jewish and she suffers from anxiety. So she has quite a lot of interesting things to explore in the book, especially as the world she's living in is currently sexist and unfair in terms of its support of women, especially women going into space, which is something that she's really keen to do. She has all of the you know, all of the credentials needed, tick tick tick, for all the different things, and yet there is this stigma behind letting women do anything. You know, even in the war she wasn't allowed to fight in certain ways in her planes, and she's coming against that all the time. One of the things I really loved in this is the relationship between Elma and her husband. It's a really positive, supportive, loving relationship, which you don't always see in books. There's often those sort of elements where the marriages are going wrong, or, you know, there's often tension in a marriage that doesn't sort of you know, that you don't get that supportive side, and in this you do, and I just think that's really lovely. And as I say, there's so much covered in this. There's race, there's mental illness, sex discrimination, there's religion, and I think the only reason that this didn't get more than 3 stars, and I'd say if I was doing sort of half stars it would be 3.5, 3 3/4, it was very nearly a 4-star for me, was that the historical aspect I struggle with sometimes, and the mathematical side I struggled with a little bit, but the writing style, I just really struggled a little bit with the writing style, and I think had I not listened to it on audiobook, I might have found it a little bit more of a struggle to get through. It's not heavy, that's not the reason why I find it difficult. The writing style just wasn't particularly for me. So it was a really strong 3 stars, nearly a 4 stars, and I definitely think if you like science fiction and you like the idea of reading a book about women and, you know, women fighting for their rights, then it's definitely an interesting read. It is a duology, but it feels like it could be read on its own as a standalone, and I'm not sure that I will be carrying on, but it's definitely one to keep on your radar if you haven't read already. And the SFF Awards is a perfect opportunity to read it so that you can vote in the, you know, when the voting comes up, to decide which is your favourite. So I think I'm going to stop this vlog here, because I've been vlogging a little bit. Well, I say vlogging, I've been checking in with you on the books that I've been reading, and I think otherwise it's going to get too long. I've got so many different things coming on in May, so many different readathons and challenges that I'm sort of taking part in, but I mentioned this in a video that you'll see hopefully soon, but you never know. I find myself putting TBRs out there often and then not updating you on things, and I don't want it to be the case, so I have filmed intros to quite a few different things recently, but I haven't uploaded them because I'm going to tack on to the end my reviews of the particular books that I'm doing for those challenges, so that they go up as one sort of whole video, just really because I find if I put the TBR out there, I don't want to read it. It's a defiant thing in me, and so if I just have it on my camera, the footage ready, hopefully that will encourage me. It will take the pressure off, I suppose, because I don't ever have to upload it and you'll never know the difference, and then I can film bits to go with it. So I hope that makes sense. So yes, I will be doing that for May and hopefully coming back to you with some new videos soon. Anyway, that's it from me, and I look forward to speaking to you soon. Bye for now, BookTube.